Welcome back, viewers. You're viewing the morning show on Tobago Updates Television, and I am Adanna Combie. And in studio, we're speaking with Superintendent Rohdill Kirk of the TTPS as he brings the crime updates as it relates to Tobago. Good morning, Superintendent, and welcome.
Good morning, Adanna. Good morning to your guests and listeners and viewers.
Thank you so much for joining us every Monday to bring updates as it relates to happenings in Tobago. I know we had a festive weekend, so I want to know how the weekend was in terms of policing and, general updates as happenings for the last week in Tobago.
Well, one of our major events, the Panorama last night, I'm happy to report that went without incident. You hear my voice.
It sounds as if you were very, very actively involved in the activities.
Yes. So it went without incident. What we could say that, in our updates over the weekend, our officers were able to recover a high-powered firearm in the Mount Thomas area. And, I want to commend the officers for the efforts. This is also want to commend the public for, cooperating with the police initiative. That is one major weapon off the street that had about 19 lives seized because, it's 19 rounds, 7.62, and that is high-powered ammunition. So what I can also tell you is that reference to one of our murders 2 weeks ago, I think, we have a suspect in custody. And the officers are at the stage now where, they are going to seek advice. So that is some good news coming out of the Tobago space, for the week in review, I will say.
Right, and always getting information in terms of having a suspect in custody is always comforting news, at least for the population. So we know that, not that we doubt your policing, we know that you are working, but to actually get a report that, one, you've recovered a firearm, which is a little bit troubling, but the fact that you've recovered it gives us a measure of comfort, and also that we have a suspect in custody gives us also that same measure of confidence in the policing, and also the comfort to know that you're actively working on our behalves as an island here in Tobago to maintain that measure of safety for us. So we're moving on into the SMART campaign for Carnival.
Again, SMART meaning safety measures aimed at reducing threats. And we come here time and time, weekly, and we mention this Carnival period. We are urging our citizens, our persons who participate in the activities to be smart, meaning that to take all the initiatives to create that level of comfort. When you're in terms of your home, in terms of safety on the roadways. Yesterday, I must say that I was able to witness firsthand some kind of errant driving on the roadways. And, it came to my mind that we already started off the year with a double fatal. And I want to continue to urge the public to be smart whilst using the roadway. We know that there's a lot of traversing of traffic. That is one. In respect of your home, we continue to urge you to take measures in which to protect your property at home when you leave. Whether it be by installing CCTV, having some neighbor or somebody take care of your property, because people around this time, criminals take the opportunity to, they know that you wouldn't be home.
That's right.
So they will take this opportunity to pay a visit and have a field day. So those are some of the things that, we are urging persons whilst you go out of it. Make sure things are in place to protect your property, to protect yourself when you're on the roadway. If you are, again, moving with any, we advise you to move in groups. We advise you to stay in well-lit areas. We advise you to park in places where, you could easily access your vehicle. There are some persons who use their premises, in a sort of secure way that when you park, you may pay a fee. Try and take advantage of that during this Carnival period.
I want to talk a little bit about the driving, especially and I want to pay particular attention to using the roundabouts. right? Because I have had experiences where I had the right of way approaching a roundabout, and my son who was in the car with me, or because I explained to him how the roundabout operates. And when we were approaching, the car on the left, which was supposed to give us the right of way because we are on the right, zoomed straight across. And he, of course, he became anxious and he thought, oh my gosh, something is going to happen. So I want to address that and to ensure people understand the correct use of the roundabout. It doesn't matter the haste, the speed that you're in, or the urgency of getting to where you need to get to. We need to ensure that, we use the roundabout in a proper way, that it isn't a detriment to anybody, right? So just give us a little bit of how you use the roundabout in a way that is safe, the correct way to use the roundabouts.
Right. In a roundabout, there's a rule. The rule is give way to vehicles coming from the right, approaching from the right. And as you rightly said, so a lot of persons don't understand how to use a roundabout. And we continue to urge people to get familiar with the highway code and the traffic regulations. So if you are coming, for say you're proceeding west, when you approach that Orkenskio roundabout, if there's a vehicle coming from Orkenskio side to turn into west, you have to wait to allow that vehicle to proceed. Likewise, if you're traveling east, any vehicle coming from traveling west that needs to go across to the Orkenskio road, you need to allow the vehicle from the right to pass before you make your way through the roundabout. So it's something that we ask motorists to do, is to learn the process, look at the traffic regulations, look at the highway code, understand the drive, right? So that is something we ask people to do. Time and time again, we notice people going through and they don't understand it. So that is something that, people must tend to get more familiar with.
That's right. Because at the end of the day, you really want to, if you're talking about road safety, we need to know the road safety rules. We need to know how to operate on the roads, and we need to make sure that we employ the safest approach to using the roundabouts as well. We're talking about maintaining safety. It's something we always talk about on this show, maintaining safety at your property and the premises when you go out. We're talking about when you go out, how you behave, your behavior when you go out in numbers. You spoke about parking in areas where there's a subscription to park. So you pay a fee and you park, that there's safety there. There are some people, they would use that, and there are some people that will just put their cars wherever there's a spot. Can we address that situation?
Well, what I'm about to tell you is that, during Carnival time, there are traffic restrictions as well. We are urging people not to just park your car anywhere, because the police will be enforcing the traffic regulations. So if you park in an area where you are not supposed to park, the wrecker will do the rest. So, we are urging people as well to, there are some people just go in front of people's driveway and they'll block the road and all of that. We discourage that this Carnival season. Don't do that, because the police are going to be out there to enforce that.
Yeah, because it really is an inconvenience, especially by driveways. And, sometimes you try, as a responsible driver, you try not to, but then you see somebody pull up right in front of somebody's driveway. And it kind of, especially, let's say, for instance, I'm going to use school pickups, for instance. That's one of the major things where people just park anyway. Because, you're in a rush, you want to get things done. But we want our public to please, do the right thing, do the wise thing, and don't block entrances, fire hydrants. Some people just park in front of fire hydrants and things like that. And we want to maintain safety in this festive season where people will be reveling. People will be, your car is parked one way and then you're miles off because you have to walk to get to the venue. So ensure that you put your car in a place that is convenient, not only to yourself, but to all the road users and to all the users of the properties and premises in the area where you are parking, right? And make sure you park in well-lit areas and areas of safety. Let's talk now about going out in numbers, the importance of going out together in numbers.
Well, there's always safety in numbers. So when you are going out with a group and you have at least, you may have somebody in charge of the group, that person will tend to look out for you, that when you go to your fete and your party and so on, that person will ensure that you are accounted for in terms of returning to your safe space. So this is something that we urge people to practice, especially now where the crime situation is a bit, in that sense where criminals look for opportunity. And once you could do anything to mitigate and minimize yourself becoming a target, that is what we urge. But, one thing I just want to add throughout this carnival period that I didn't mention before, there is the legal notice number 21 of 2024, which deals with prohibition of glass bottles in the public spaces throughout carnival. We also ask people to get, look up that information. This is where you are not supposed to have any glass bottle within that carnival designated area or public spaces unless you are authorized person. So that is something that, we ask people to get the information about, and it is already published out there, so it is there. So note that if you have any beverages in glass bottle during that period, it will be taken away from you by the police and the protective services agency. So
if you attend an event where they sell beverages that are in glass bottles, how is that? Is it that they're supposed to pour it out?
Exactly, because the persons who have the license are the authorized persons, but they must follow the guidelines of the regulations, which says that you pour it out in a container that is not, glass, so that you could, your customers or whoever could be served with that container.
Again, to ensure that there's safety, because sometimes when you start drinking and you lose your inhibitions, then something could happen.
Exactly.
And you might sail a bottle across somewhere.
And that is what the regulation is aimed at doing, is to minimize those instances where, those glass bottles lying up wrong could become weapons.
That's right.
So that is what it is aimed at doing.
And in addition to that, now we pour in drinks into containers, right? Because we don't want the glass bottles. We want to address again, and I think it's something we need to continue to reiterate. In as much as we speak about it, people still fall victim to this, or allow themselves to fall victim. When, especially for females, it could happen to males as well. Receiving drinks in containers that have been poured out when not outside of your presence. It's like you're not there. Somebody bring a drink from the bar to you. How do we mitigate that situation to allow for, no sort of compromising your drink and stuff like that?
Again, you have a responsibility for yourself, self-preservation. So if you are attending these events and you may be at risk, yes, you may be at risk. You have to actually have that person you can trust to deal with it if you want somebody to pour your drink. In respect to the if it is that you are sending somebody to the bar, make sure it's somebody that is close to you, somebody who you know that you could have that level of trust. Other than that, get it yourself. And that is what we are asking in terms of, because you can be at risk if you just, random stranger come up and invite and say they want to buy a drink for you. That is a red flag. You know what I mean? So you have to have that, you have to do your due diligence in terms of knowing what you're doing out there at this time.
That's right. And the next point I want to raise again, we want to go back to home safety. Persons who are going out, it could be people who are participating in the carnival events or persons who are going to camp, because there are people who go to camp as well and leave their homes unattended. So we want to reiterate the measures that we have to put in place to ensure the safety of our property when we go out to either the carnival events or to camping or whatever activities that take place at this particular time in this season.
Right. Notwithstanding that the police will pass through the many areas and so on to make sure that, all is well, you still have that responsibility. Again, you can, if you are going out, even self as the neighbor or somebody to go periodically and check on your property, put that in place. Right? In respect to the camping, again, when these campers come to the island, the police will also pay them a visit wherever they are. So sometimes we ask that if you are in an area, notify the police that you are camping in that area, just in the event something goes wrong, so that we can, implement measures in terms of dealing with safety issues if you are found in that situation. Again, we know a lot of people visit the beaches around these areas. We are trying to urge you as well, when you go to these beaches, make sure you ensure all the safety and regulation in terms before you go into the water, because you may be at a beach where no lifeguard and so on are in place, and you may put yourself at risk. So again, exercise that level of caution when you visit these areas.
That's right. That's right. As you rightfully said, it's about self-preservation. So knowing what is the right thing to do for yourself, for the safety of yourself, your family, your loved ones, and doing just that. You know, and as we're talking about the events, carnival events, and people do a lot of different things. As I say, they go to the events, they go to camping, they go to the beaches, they go all over the place. What we want to maintain in our, especially in the Tobago space, is that community type of behavior. You mentioned earlier when we spoke about securing your premises, a neighbor could throw an eye,
Of
make
course.
sure everything is okay. If you see a stranger in the area lurking around, alert somebody. If you can't get onto the homeowner, you know, you could probably call a police or something like that. What kind of things can they do?
Well, that is why continue to emphasize that, you know, that neighborhood watch or put cameras in place, you know, and again, when you do these things, it makes it easier for you. Also, if you know, let's say, always have some sort of emergency number in place and the police number as well, because somebody might notify you and you need quick response. So have that in the back of your head to call either the 999, the 555. But in terms of your personal safety, again, it wouldn't be tough. I think you can't. I like the idea you talk about the community approach. This is what assists the police out here on a daily basis, you know. And we find communities who are more engaged in partnering with the police. They usually get that level of quicker response because, you know, everybody knows everybody, and it makes it more easy for the police within the community to access you. So again, try and get yourself aligned or acquainted with these organizations like our station councils, our community councils, youth clubs. All through, these are mediums in which, you know, that faster level of communication to the police. Although we have a duty to protect and serve you, I think, you know, it's important around this time to have more eyes and ears out there for you. So, you know, that is something that, or in fact, there are police officers who live within your community as well. Try and build that relation.
That's right.
Right? So those are things that simple things that you can do to sort of maximize, you know, your level of safety within your community. So those are some of the things we would encourage.
And, you know, we're going in next week, Monday. We will not be having this conversation on set because we would be in the height of the carnival activities on the road. How are you feeling? Where is the TTPS positioned to manage all the things that we spoke about as it relates to the activities for carnival in Tobago?
Well, what we recognize is the activities for Carnival is a bit limited, but it doesn't mean we are all ready and raring to go. And, you know, there are some things that we need to finalize, but we already have our operational plan in place. So, in spite of where the event, we heard that Crown Point, Roxborough would have the Juve, Scarborough, whatever is happening, we will have the resources to police the areas.
So you feel quite confident in managing?
Of course I do.
All right, viewers. Thank you so much for always choosing us. Thank you so much for coming in and always giving that information and updates and restoring that measure of kind of safety and comfort and confidence in the policing, especially as we head into the season of reveling. TTPS reporting this morning, Superintendent Rohdill Kirk giving us some insight as to where the TTPS is to take care of matters for that period in Tobago, and also giving us some tips on how to keep ourselves and our properties safe for the carnival season. And even on a regular day, these are things that you should implement. It's a lifestyle change that we have to implement to ensure our safety, the safety of our neighbors, our children, and the generations to come, to ensure our communities are beautiful spaces once again. Thank you, Superintendent Rohdill Kirk. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is where the morning show ends, but we do not end our programming. We continue with GMT, so we want you to stay with us. And even as you stay with us and we go to this break before we return, we invite you to share the live, share the live, share the live.